Bing bong. We are back with this edition of the Sunday Scaries Stock Talk podcast. I am the host, Brandon, and my co-host is Dan. Before we get started, we're going to shout out to a good friend of the program, Jeff Sugarts, I think is how you pronounce it. I don't know. We just call him Shug. He got engaged. So big ups to that guy. He's been a rider since day one. Yeah, so congrats, Shug. We wish you all the best and very happy for you, buddy. But
Yeah,
yeah, after that, go ahead, Dan.
congrats to Suge. I just want to say, like, I'm seeing all these people get engaged, get married in the Bitcoin community. And here I was thinking that we were waiting till 100K to get girlfriends. So I don't know what's going on. I think people have been getting girlfriends behind my back before 100K. I'm excited for them, but at the same time, a heads up on these things would be great because I've been waiting.
Yeah, I feel that. And to be honest, my enemies are after me. So I just need like a small like 10K loan. If anybody wants to, sell their car or do something like that, give me a credit card in their name or something to help me escape my enemies so they can't track me. That'd be great. Maybe I just need to find the right lady who could do that for me.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know what Brandon's talking about, it's this new documentary on Masa's gonna hate this if he listens to it. I don't know if he does, but on Netflix or Detflix as he calls it, there's a documentary called The Tinder Swindler, where this guy just basically like lies to everybody, lies to all these girls, telling them that he's super rich, but in reality he's getting these girls to take massive amounts of debt and then send him credit cards and stuff. Like absolute goat when it comes to swindling, to be honest. Guy's a legend.
It's insane. It's literally a Ponzi scheme. He gets one girl to take out a loan so he could buy all these nice stuff and pay for these nice things, private jets for another girl. And then he just keeps doing the cycle. He got caught once in Finland and he went to jail, but then he like basically plotted in jail like how to do it even better. So he never had his name attached to any of it. So kind of an electric documentary. Unfortunately, it didn't work for me last night. I went to the bars and I told all these chicks that my enemies are after me, and I tried to get them to buy me drinks, and I only got like, one or two. It's kind of fucked up, to be honest.
Wow. Yeah. Maybe we'll get his name was Simon Lviv on the pod. Maybe we'll try to get Simon on the pod and he can teach us his ways. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe we could get him. Yeah, he's probably developing something on Web3 or an NFT or something like that. So I'm sure he's a very busy guy. But anyway, let's get into it. We'll go into our macro minute. So Dan, how you feeling going into this week? Any big news that you saw, anything that's troubling you or positive going forward, just overall macro stock environment?
Yeah, sure. On the prior point, I'd love to see Billy McFarland and Simon Lviv team up for an NFT project. Something with Firefest and Tinder Swindler would be amazing. But yeah, as far as macro goes, of course, there's still this alleged looming war over in Europe. So we'll see how that goes. It's kind of crazy that you end Friday thinking, oh yeah, maybe we'll be in World War III next week. Maybe we won't. I don't know. So that's still going on. And then the other thing I'm looking at, and I think it's related to the series that we're doing now on Bitcoin mining, is that there's a U.S. executive order that's supposed to be released this week on cryptocurrencies. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But macro wise, I don't know. It seems like we're all kind of holding our breath until March. There was some words of like emergency rate hikes, but they didn't come to fruition. So we'll see. I think the markets are just going to be volatile until March when they see what Jay Powell has to say. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I agree with that. It's just like, the looming war. Is it gonna happen? Is it not? I don't know, to be honest. It's like it almost seems like they wanna they realize that like, oh shit, they need to raise rates, but they don't want to raise rates because it's gonna hurt the rich and wealthy, and it'll probably, just start the demise of the stock market and everything like that. So maybe they'll start a war to kind of save their ass and be like, well, we can't raise rates in the middle of a war, which was which would be very unfortunate, to be honest. So just kind of this whole geopolitical environment that we have going on is it's a little scary, to be honest. And yeah, so we're talking about the Bitcoin mining sector. We're gonna take a dive into HUD 8 later in this episode. So the looming war, and then also the looming announcement on the regulations of cryptocurrencies on Monday, I believe, is when the Biden administration is going to say something. That'll definitely probably affect HUD 8 and some of these Bitcoin mining companies as a whole. And as far as going into HUD 8 too, we got to look at what's going on in Canada, the truckers convoy. There's currently, for those of you that don't know, the truckers are protesting vaccine mandates. And I think it was like, I can't remember, it was GoFundMe shut it down. And then there was another one that kind of stopped the funds. Do you know the name of that other one, Dan?
I think it was called Give, Send, Go. And yeah, the GoFundMe had over 9 million and GoFundMe shut that one down. So GoFundMe terminated that account, returned all the money, said that they had violated their terms of service, that they had reports of violence. I haven't seen any violence from these protesters from all the videos that I've seen. And then the other one, Give, Send, Go, was actually hacked. And then the interesting thing about the Give, Send, Go one was that it was hacked and all of the users, all of the donors, their names and information were handed out. And there's been journalists just doxing these people, which is despicable behavior, in my opinion. So yeah, those were frozen. And then a Tallycoin fundraiser spun up. Tallycoin's a platform where you can donate in Bitcoin, both on layer 1 and through Lightning. And so the Tallycoin fundraiser raised about 20 Bitcoin, which the last time I looked at it was like $880,000 or something. And prices have been relatively stable. They took a little bit of a dip the last few days, so it's probably worth a little bit less. But they've started distributing those funds as far as I know. But the Canadian government, I mean, more to your point here, if we're looking at Canadian-based Bitcoin companies, which we're going to be doing today, and I believe next week, like the government is trying to crack down on cryptocurrencies right now because of this, which again is despicable in my opinion. Like you don't get to freeze people's money. They're doing it already with bank accounts, and now they're going to try to do this with crypto. If you use Bitcoin the right way, you don't have to worry about this. But most people don't use Bitcoin the right way. They keep their money on exchanges or other things that are owned by other people. So they have custodian wallets where they hold their Bitcoin. So yeah, I think the larger point here is that the Canadian government is taking a very negative stance towards financial independence generally. And they're realizing that things like Bitcoin can be used to basically have a little more self-sovereignty over your financials. And I'd expect that there's a bigger crackdown coming, and it's coming to the US too. I mean, the Department of Justice last week announced that they're forming a task force to look at crypto seizures. So believe me, I mean, this stuff's coming. And when you're looking at Bitcoin companies as an investor, these are things that you have to consider, these regulatory powers.
Yeah, for sure. And so yeah, it's definitely unfortunate as a Bitcoin guy as a whole, and looking at these companies. So if you're an investor in HUD 8 or any of these other companies, it's definitely something that you got to keep an eye out for, the regulatory pressures, because it's not only unique to kind of it's not only unique to a Bitcoin company, but it's also something that happens to various other companies. Yeah, I mean, overall, I think there's a lot of question marks going forward in the overall macro environment, but from there, we'll see what happens. Got anything else to add?
No, I think that's all I have. It's like, I know this is our Sunday stock talk, but these are things that you have to worry about. I think especially with exchanges, the mining companies are a little bit different, but at the end of the day, like if you're a hosting company, where basically you pay out people that are owning things. So it's like Compass Mining, for example, they host a miner that you would sign up for. Well, they have all of your information. They are a KYC company. And if you're a publicly traded KYC company, Like let's take Coinbase, for example. You have to give them your information to sign up for Coinbase, and then you actually hold assets on Coinbase. If they get slapped with a subpoena from a regulatory body, they're going to respond to it. They have to. Like it. So as these publicly traded companies know more and more about you, if they're in any way holding any of your wealth and the government decides that you've done something they don't like, they're going to come after it, and they're going to do that through these companies, and these companies are going to be compliant. It's just the way it works. So I just encourage everybody to think a little bit about that going forward. That's all I've got.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So then let's get into HUD 8. So we've kind of teased that this is the company and that we're going to go into. And yeah, so Dan is a holder of HUD 8. I am not. The only Bitcoin mining stock that I own is the ETF WGMI, which we'll probably go into later, because when we first broke down the sector, that wasn't available, and then we wrote about it, and all of a sudden it's available now. So call it the green candle bump, call it whatever you want, but definitely think our big and large following had something to do with that. But anyway, we'll go into HUD 8. So HUD 8 is a mining company, cryptocurrency mining company. So they're not strictly Bitcoin. They're involved in industrial scale Bitcoin mining operations. They actually have the largest mining operation in North America. They're primarily located in just Canada right now. So they have industrial scale Bitcoin miners, as well as a hybrid data center model that serves both Web 2, nascent digital asset computer sectors, and Web 3. I know that's Dan's favorite. He's a huge Web 3 guy, so I'm sure that's going to be one of his bull arguments as to why he's an investor here. And then yeah, HUD 8 has tier 0 to tier 4 computing platform, and it allocates digital asset mining and open source distributed ledger technology to underutilized areas. So essentially, it's just a Bitcoin mining company, but it also mines Ethereum and yeah, some other coins as well. And it's starting to develop and shift its focus from strictly Bitcoin to more of a Web3 kind of focus. So as of this recording, it's trading at $5.94, pretty close to its year low. Year range was $3.15 to $3.15 to $16.57. It's got a market cap of 994.5 million USD. So we covered Marathon Digital last week, and that was the largest market cap of any company in the Bitcoin mining sector. And HUD 8 has the largest footprint, or largest amount of miners. So we're trying to cover a lot of these big miners. And yeah, so right now, as far as financials go, they had about 47, almost 48 million in revenue last quarter. And they also have the most amount of Bitcoin held on the balance sheet of any publicly traded company available right now. And they added 905 self-mined Bitcoin to that last quarter. And yeah, 91% of their servers have been installed and powered up. And they also, had a partnership with NVIDIA, which I know you, I don't know if you still currently hold it, but you were an NVIDIA holder at one point in time as well. So yeah, that's going to increase their giga hash and their mining capabilities and everything like that. So yeah, I guess Dan, initial thoughts on everything I just went through right there.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Good coverage. Happy to go into how I feel about the company itself.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess so. This week I had the bull arguments and Dan has the bear. Kind of fitting because Dan is a holder and very upset in his holdings. So I'll kind of go through a little bit of what I got on the bull, and then Dan will go through his bear, and then we'll kind of give our overall opinions on the company as a whole. So yeah, the arguments that I have of the positives is they have the largest Bitcoin holding of any publicly traded company. As a Bitcoin guy, both Dan and I think that this is huge. They're not only like mining Bitcoin, but they're going to be adding to it every single quarter, and that's just a positive going forward. I don't really see like holding Bitcoin as being a negative. We see other publicly traded companies kind of get in on this, like Tesla is probably one of the biggest ones that most stock people, know and whether what have like, some sort of opinion on it. But Tesla made more money on their Bitcoin holding than on selling cars when they first put it on the balance sheet. So um, it's definitely something that's a positive, even though it's like a volatile asset. So is the US dollar. So instead of holding cash reserves, holding Bitcoin could just help and benefit the overall health of the company going forward. Um, Another positive of HUD 8 is that they have the largest mining footprint of any company. So not only do they have Bitcoin mining, the largest Bitcoin holding, they also have the largest amount of Bitcoin miners. So they can keep adding to that. And, they have a large abundance of natural resources in Canada as well. So not only like during the winter time, these miners give off heat and everything like that. They don't necessarily need to worry about that in Canada. Whereas like in some warmer climates, that might be an issue and wear out the miners because of, the significant amount of heat that they put off of. So yeah, overall, I think like Canada is a great place for Bitcoin miners. They've had a lot of companies kind of pop up there, and HUD 8 is the largest. So, yeah, Dan, what are your bear points?
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to be surprised by my bear points. I think they're too focused on non-Bitcoin related products. Their last investors presentation had a bunch of shit about Web3 and video games and things like that. So I think they're expanding into traditional data centers as a way to stabilize cash flow. But in my opinion, as a Bitcoin mining company, you should just be focused on Bitcoin mining. So I think HUD 8 will basically be taken over by companies like Marathon, who are hyper focused on Bitcoin mining and expanding their Bitcoin mining footprint. But that's just my opinion. I think the Web3 stuff is nonsense. I think this focus on NFTs is misguided. Video gaming, I see a little bit. So just creating data centers for video gaming. Video gaming is growing. It's a growing industry, and there's a lot of people doing it. So, we'll see about that. But as far as I'm concerned, I'd love to see this Bitcoin mining company focus more on expanding their Bitcoin mining footprint. Who knows? Maybe they're just getting a little complacent with their current market share of actual mining, their current hash rate, but we'll see. And then semi-related to that, I think there are other companies that are more Bitcoin focused, like Marathon, like Bitfarms. I think these companies are just hyper focused on expanding the core of their business, which is Bitcoin mining, right? And then the other thing that I dislike is this buy-in on ESG. So in their most recent investors presentation, they talked a lot about how they're super focused on ESG, which quite frankly, I don't really care that much about. I want these miners to find the cheapest energy possible. And that's that. Like, you should be mining Bitcoin with the cheapest energy possible. I don't think you should be hyper focused on renewables or anything like that. I think over time, the renewables will become the cheapest source of energy. But until then, like, I don't mind these companies using flare off gas. I think it's a good thing that these companies can come in and use wasted or stranded sources of energy. So I don't like seeing companies go down this ESG road, and they're also dipping their toes in this, like, diversity and equity in these diversity and equity waters, which I don't like either. I think that this is misguided. I think you should find the cheapest energy possible, and I think you should hire people who you believe are the most capable of doing the job that they're supposed to be doing. That's just my opinion. I know a bunch of people are probably going to disagree with that, but at the end of the day, I believe that you should have the strongest people doing the work that they're most suited for. And if it's a woman, it's a woman. If it's a guy, it's a guy. Like, in my opinion, I don't care. Like, I want to see a company succeed by hiring the best people for the job, and that's that. So yeah, those are my bear arguments. They're all kind of related to each other. In general, it's just that I don't think that they're as focused on Bitcoin mining as they should be for a Bitcoin mining company.
Yeah, so I mean, with all those points, it kind of just brings back to one of the points you made in there, is that they're just distracted, it seems. They don't have a hyper focus on Bitcoin mining. They from there, like, they're trying to be more inclusive and things like that. It can be good to a certain point to get, people of different backgrounds and things like that to, be together in a company and whatnot. But at the same time, I agree with you 100%. Like, if you're going to hire somebody based on, you know, their gender or race or something like that, it should just be almost like a blank sheet, right? Just look at this person, like, how do they qualified? How do they seem fit? And everything else, like, are they the best person for the job? It should be as simple a question as that. And I think that, trying to hire away or try to hire, specifically for women, it kind of backs you in a corner, whether it's women or even, Latinos, which I am. So, I mean, at some point, sometimes this thing benefits me, but at the end of the day, I think, you should look for the best person for the job, no matter who it is. Yeah, so moving into Web3 and everything like that, I think is a big negative as well. I don't really see the positive in that. I think that they should try to just focus on the one asset that seems to, have longevity. But I also don't run this company, and maybe I'm wrong with the whole Web3 thing, but it seems like every week more and more stuff comes out that's more negative on Web3 than opposed to Bitcoin, which just keeps trucking along. And I think too, this regulation is going to hit companies that are in the Web3 Ethereum, like not so decentralized cryptocurrency space, more so than any other crypto, I guess, because, I kind of hate that crypto word, but, Ethereum essentially isn't decentralized and Bitcoin is. So you can't stop the Bitcoin network. You theoretically could stop the Ethereum network, and it has been shut down before. So for a company to kind of get into this with all these regulatory headaches and potential mishaps going forward, it's kind of disappointing to see a company go into it like that. And, obviously not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor or anything like that, but I just really don't see anything that they're currently doing and currently putting out as a positive and convincing me to invest any of my money.
Well, here's the thing too. Like, the ESG narrative and the decentralization narrative, in my opinion, are diametrically opposed to one another, right? Because you've got people pushing this ESG narrative hard and arguing for something like proof of stake, which is an alternative to proof of work. And a lot of people would say that it's a more ESG friendly alternative to proof of work. But as soon as you implement proof of stake, boom, you're no longer decentralized, because it's the people that have the most that get to make the decisions on the protocol. So you're no longer as decentralized as you would otherwise be. So in my opinion, ESG and decentralization are they're opposed to one another. And so I don't understand companies that try to push both of these things. Like, oh, we're super ESG friendly, and then we're also all for DeFi or decentralization. So, okay, are you really? And then I love too the people that post pictures of Vitalik and say, my entire net worth is in the hands of this man. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's real decentralized, guys. Like, come on. And then the dude's wearing fucking pink pajamas and a coat that's 4 sizes too small for him. So I don't know. Don't get me on one. I could get on one today, dude. Don't get me on one.
Well, let's see. Go off, King. Let's hear it. I mean, you're a holder, so like the stock has not been doing very well for you. You've been like, if you guys follow us, you've known and you've heard Dan kind of bitch about it. And Len, our good buddy at the Canadian Bitcoiners podcast, gave very bad financial advice, so never listen to anything Len says. Yeah, that's obviously sarcastic for those who don't know me. So Len doesn't give financial advice, et cetera, et cetera. But Dan, go off, King. Let's hear it. This one's been very poor for you.
It's way down, which is not like, it's not their fault. I voluntarily invested in it. It's not like anyone put a gun to my head and told me I had to invest. But it's the same thing with Intel. Intel this week came out and started pushing this energy FUD too. And I was hyper bullish on Intel after they said that they were going to get into the ASIC chip manufacturing game. And then Masa comes along and shows me this video of, I forget who it was within the company, talking about how Bitcoin miners use too much energy. And it's like, man, energy usage is not the key metric here. And I know you and I talked about this a bit on our spaces on Friday, where, okay, well, maybe if you're getting into home mining and you're worried about energy costs, then maybe energy usage is an important metric. Okay, so I get that. And if he would have betted it in that context, then I would get it. But he didn't bet it in that context, right? He didn't say typically energy usage isn't a key metric. However, we're focused on home mining and we want to drive down energy costs for the home miner. That wasn't the context he put it in. He put it in the context of it's terrible for the environment, all of these things. And, it just shows me that a lot of these people making these decisions don't understand what industry they're getting into. And so when I see this ESG stuff, it starts to worry me about who's in charge of decision making at the company. And I'm seeing it here with Hut 8. I prefer when people get on podcasts, like there's been people from Bit Farms and things like that jump on podcasts with our friends Joey and Len and say, look, we're looking for the cheapest energy. I love the Great American Mining Company. They're using flare off gas, which is a massive waste of energy. They're figuring out how to capture that wasted energy and convert it into an economic tool of Bitcoin. So, I just, when I see this stuff, it really worries me. It worries me that the people in charge just don't have they just don't have the right vision, in my opinion.
Exactly. Yeah. I think like especially these new companies, I like to see companies that are hyper focused, whether it's Bitcoin mining or something else. Like I'd like to see them get in and just master one thing, right? So when Apple, for example, first came out, right, they mastered computers. They mastered it, right? They figured out everything they could do to master the computers. And then they moved into diversifying their products. Then they moved into the iPod, everything else, AirPods, what have you. But the first thing they did was the computers, right? And same kind of deal with Amazon, right? They before they did AWS and all the other aspects of their business, they focused on strictly like creating the marketplace and making the marketplace more and more efficient. And so that's what I'd like to see Hut 8 get into, or any of these new companies. That's something that I look for especially when I'm looking into an early publicly traded company, is like, are they hyper focused? Because in my opinion, I think that that's where they kind of get their bread and butter. And then as they get bigger, they have the capital, and then they have, that, whatever aspect of it, their company, whether it's computers or whatever, to fall back on. And then they can start taking more risks. And then when they start taking more risks, if they hit on those risks, that's when the company becomes a mega giant. So, yeah, I agree 100%. To Hut 8, man, just get focused.
Yeah. Look,
Man.
there's something to be said for diversity, for product diversity, right? But at the same time, last week we covered Marathon Digital, and Marathon Digital is diversifying by going into like what are cooling technologies. So it's things that are tangentially related to Bitcoin mining. It's like, all right, how can we develop better ASIC chips in-house? How can we develop cooling technologies in-house? And those things will spin off and they can sell those technologies to other industries, right? It seems like what Hut 8 is doing is going just completely outside of Bitcoin mining and going more into just traditional data center technologies. And they're not even really, like, I just don't see how they're developing those technologies. I know I'm not a part of the company and I'm not privy to all of the things that they're doing, but I don't know. I would just love to see them more focused on the core of their company, which is Bitcoin mining. And I've said that probably 10 times in this podcast, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
I agree with you there. So I think, unfortunately, we have kind of the same opinion on this. So we're not going to go to bats. But yeah, so I guess that's it. All I got on Hut 8. You got anything else? Any closing remarks?
nothing comes to mind. I don't know. I've got to figure out what I'm going to do with it. I don't own that much of it, fortunately. I did look up, by the way, you mentioned WGMI, the Bitcoin mining ETF from Valkyrie, and Hut 8 has a 2.8% weight. It's 18th when ranked by weight. It's the 18th company.
Yeah,
So
so I guess technically that makes me a holder, but not a very large percentage of my portfolio either. So
well, it just shows
uh,
you too. I mean, it shows you too that people that do this for a living that are really looking into this, like it's behind Stronghold Digital Mining, it's behind Bit Farms, it's behind Hive, it's behind Argo, Riot, Marathon, Of course, there's some chip manufacturers, NVIDIA above it, Cipher Mining's above it, Core Scientific's above it. Like, there's the people that are really looking into this stuff, I think, are not weighting it very high. And if it's one of the, it's has more Bitcoin on its balance sheet than any other, more self-mined Bitcoin on his balance sheet than any other mining company. So maybe it tells you something that the folks at Valkyrie, don't see it as something that they should give more than 3% weight to.
Exactly. And not only that they have the most self-mined Bitcoin on their balance sheet, they also have the largest amount of miners of any Bitcoin mining company in North America. So, yeah, definitely kind of like if I was a HUD investor, I'd be a little scared seeing some of these things that we're talking about here. So, but yeah, like I said, and like we'll say at the beginning and at the end, not financial advice. But yeah, we'll wrap it up. Like we said at the beginning, I'm Brandon, and I'm here with my co-host Dan. We bring these to you every Sunday is when we record. We'll release shortly after. We release our newsletter where we'll have this in written form, our breakdown of HUD 8. It'll come out on Monday, which will be President's Day. The markets are going to be closed, but we'll still send it out, still putting out content even on holidays. And then Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, we do our Twitter space talking stocks. So come and join us there. And then if you're into Bitcoin or want to learn more a little bit about that, subscribe to our newsletter. We put out a Bitcoin specific one every Friday. And then we even have like a breakdown for just people who are getting into Bitcoin there. So if you're new into it, check that out. And we also have the State of Bitcoin podcast. So give us a listen, subscribe to that. And we do a Twitter space for our Bitcoin content as well every Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. So subscribe, join us, interact. Find us at Green Candle IT on Twitter. You can basically find everything that we got going on there. And then follow myself at bkeys1010 and my co-host Dan at PVO_Dan on Twitter as well, and just interact with us. Let us know what you think. And yeah, Dan, got any last closing remarks?
Yeah, I think the most important thing that you do there is just follow my personal. I just cracked through 400 followers, and I'm trying to boost that up to 1,000 as quickly as possible. So make sure you give my personal a follow. I think that's what's best for the team. I'm a team guy at the end of the day, but I think the best thing for the team right now is that I grow my personal following as quickly as possible.
Yeah, so we have a little bet going on. The loser, first one to get to 1,000, the other person has to eat an onion like an apple, which I don't know how it's going to work. Gandalf, Bitcoin Gandalf, who interacts with us a lot on Twitter. So if you follow us, you'll probably see us interacting with him quite a bit. I don't know how that's going to work, dude. I don't even think you can bite into an onion. Maybe we have to boil it or something to make it soft so you could actually bite in and not fuck up my teeth. Actually got a dentist appointment on Monday, so maybe
ask your dentist if it's possible to just eat onions like that.
Yeah, be like, yo, doc, can I just bite into this onion like an apple? Will that be all right? But yeah, anyway, that's it for us. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you back next week.
Peace.